Hello everybody, thank you to Laurel for asking me to talk about all things sugar on this Facebook Live, and thanks to those who are joining me. And if you're joining me in a recording later on, it's all still really relevant. So my name's Marcelle Rose. I'm a registered nutritional therapist and health coach. I specialise in working with people with gut and intestinal and digestive problems. So these can be things like IBS or IBD, which is inflammatory bowel disease, but even people who have these symptoms and they don't really know why they have them. So I work with them to find those underlying causes. I also work with people who have emotional eating problems, and that's lots of us, but also people who suffer with disordered eating and difficulties there, and I help them to restore a healthy relationship with food. But so many people ask me, whether they're clients or people I meet and they find out what I do, all about sugar. That is the most people ask me about. So that's why I thought I will talk today all about sugar, and I do have some news about something you can join in with me later on in the live. So do listen out for that. So sugar is a real problem for people, and you know, we all really seem to struggle with it. So the question is, why is it so difficult for us to avoid? Why has it become so hard? And what is it some things we can do about it? So first of all, we know that around 75% of all packaged food in supermarkets contain sugar. And I'm not just talking about the sweet stuff. I'm talking about savoury stuff. So thinking about soups, sauces, cereals, obviously we know about. But if you think about Heinz tomato soup, high in sugar, but even the sort of more thought of natural health foods, the sort of healthy soups, the fresh ones, if you look at labels, and they all vary greatly, they will all contain some kind of sugar. And certainly some of them are natural sugars and some of them are not, and we're going to talk about that a bit more in a minute. So it's really looking at labels is one of the key things. Now, not to become obsessive about it, obviously, but what you can do is look at the labels to just find out what, things you generally want to go for and not. So then you know for the future what kind of things to go for. So looking down the label, underneath carbohydrates, it will say of which are sugars, and just having a look per 100 grams rather than per portion, because one of the deceptive things the food industry does is give us very unrealistic portions, especially in cereals. So it's always looking for that per 100 grams, so then you can get an idea of the percentage of sugar in those processed foods. So that's one thing to really start looking out for. Now, the other problem these days, which is probably sort of more ingrained in our culture more recently than not, but it's something that the food industry, but also unfortunately all the retailers are kind of joining in with at the moment, is that we have sugar and chocolate deliberately kept by the tills wherever we go. So when we go, for example, to buy petrol, it's not something we really enjoy buying. I don't know if anyone agrees with me, but it's not something I kind of begrudge buying my petrol. It's not an enjoyment buy, but we have to do it if we drive a car. So we go in, or unless it's electric, of course, we go in, we buy our petrol, and there by the till are all these chocolates and sugar. And obviously it's something we want to do psychologically. That's something that we want to buy to kind of maybe make us feel a bit better. So that's a bit of a strategy from the shops and the retailers, but also it's not just petrol stations. We're talking about things like stationery shops like WH Smith. We have to queue up and just look at chocolate. It makes it so difficult. But now even clothes shops are doing it. We have Topshop and Primark, or there's probably loads of others. Those are a few examples where when we're queuing up, they sell sweets. It's everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. And what I'm saying is we kind of know it, but it's not necessarily in our conscious. So it's really important to kind of be aware of it and see what they're trying to do and how we're trying to they're trying to manipulate us into buying this stuff. Other things to look out for are low-fat foods. Now, over the years, we've all been led to believe in the media that the way to lose weight and the healthy thing to do for your heart is to have low-fat foods. We've known for a long time through research that actually that isn't the case. It probably causes more of a problem. Well, we know we've got an obesity issue in this country, and we've been having low-fat foods for a long time, and so obviously that's not working, but we also have the studies to back that up. So we know that, for example, if they take the fat out of food, it's not as satiating for us, so we don't feel as full for as long. So we're much more likely to want to crave sweet foods for a start. But often, particularly with the non-natural flavours, anything with a fruit flavour, more or less, will have added sugar added into it to make it taste better because the fat's been removed. But also we will find that, you know, we will have other additives as well, so that's not great for us. But if you're going, for example, for yogurt and you're going for a natural yogurt, I would always recommend going for the full fat yogurt, so you actually feel satiated, and adding other stuff, some fruit or some mixed seeds into the mix, and that will really help to stabilise your blood sugar levels so that you will actually feel fuller for longer, you will have less cravings, and you won't get all these kind of symptoms that you get from having a lot of sugar. So that's another way that they're still trying to kind of trick us into getting this sugar down us. Now, some of you may say, what about artificial sweeteners though? I buy the yogurts or whatever with artificial sweeteners in. So that should be all right. So actually, sadly, hate to break the news to you, but the artificial sweeteners we now know are problematic as well. So these are things like sucralose, aspartame. We know that it prolongs, having that sweetness in food prolongs our need for sweet foods. We still want to crave sweet foods, so it's not helping us there. We also know now, though, through latest research, that it actually spikes our blood sugar levels as sugar does. So it's actually causing the same problem. So we end up having a spike in blood sugar level, which raises our insulin levels. So then our blood sugar levels drop straight down again, and we're craving more sugar. But what else it does, as insulin is a fat storage hormone, is we will store that sugar as fat. So it's not helping us any more than sugar is. We know also from new research that it causes gut dysfunction. So you've probably heard talk now about our gut microbiome, the balance of the bacteria in our gut. It's a very kind of fragile balance, and our gut doesn't work as well. Certainly we have all sorts of problems if we're not, if it's not balanced properly, and we know that artificial sweeteners are having an effect on that. We also know that we're more likely to crave sugars if we've got the kind of imbalance, or it's known as dysbiosis in our gut, where we can't actually, we want to crave more sugars because of our bacterial balance. So it's another reason to try and avoid the artificial sweeteners. We know that the food industry is really trying to trick us. We know that. We've got around 56 different ways to describe sugar. Crazy, isn't it? So I'm talking about all the different words they can use for sugar to put on our labels. So you've got all the words ending in O's, O-S-E, maltose, dextrose, there's loads of them. But those aren't the only ones. We've got things like corn syrup, evaporated cane juice, we've got maltodextrin, we've got loads. So it's really getting a bit label savvy. As I said earlier, checking the amount of sugar on your labels, but it's also checking your ingredients. And they're very sneaky because they're trying to work out ways to kind of get around us noticing these things. So by using maybe more than one type of sugar, maybe 2, 3, 4 types of sugar, sometimes they use in foods with different names, they don't have to put it up high in the ingredients list. Whereas if something's quite full of sugar and it's just called sugar, it might be at the top of the ingredients list on the label. If it's got 4 different sugars in, it can be, you know, the different names further down in the list, so it doesn't look as bad. So there's all these little tricks that they're trying to do to get us to think that what we're eating is actually not so bad. But what about natural sugars? So I know a lot of people ask me about natural sugars. Are they good for you? What should I have? Are they the same as having normal sugar? Is it okay to eat this because it's got this in? I know people get very confused about this. It is confusing, and the media really doesn't help with this either. So I'm just going to run through a few of the key ones that I would say are better in terms of, you know, they're giving us added extras, and then the ones that probably not so helpful at all. And obviously it's better to have a natural sugar, and certainly the ones that I would recommend, than refined sugars, because when you're getting something else, you'll be getting a bit of some nutrients, maybe some antioxidants, maybe some minerals with it. So obviously that is better for us. With something like dates, for example, that are used now quite a lot in baking and cooking, there's loads of great cookbooks around with healthy sweet stuff. Dates are used a lot in that. Now we are getting some nutrients from the dates, we're getting some fibre, so much better than having refined sugar. But with my one little caveat is just watch how much of that you're having, because it will still raise and spike your blood sugar levels, having that same effect on your blood sugar as I discussed earlier. Spikes and then drops, leaving you with all those symptoms, but also a fat storage hormone, because you're spiking your insulin levels and then dropping it and then spiking it. So just be mindful. Things like naked bars. I know a lot of people say, oh, yeah, I'm really good. I'm having lots of naked bars instead of having chocolates and sweets. Well, yes, it's better than having chocolates and sweets, but if you're having a lot of them, they contain around 46% on average sugar. Yes, it's natural sugar, but it would still spike your blood sugar levels. So just be mindful about what you're having and how much of it you're having, really, if you're trying to cut down on the sugar. There's something called Jaggery, which is the downside to it. It's available mainly in health food shops, I would say, but it's also more expensive than obviously buying your regular sugar, but it can be used in baking. It's more nutrient dense, so you're getting more nutrients, and it also does spike your blood sugar less than other sugars do. So it's a good one to choose if you want to do some baking and you perhaps want to just watch your blood sugar levels, watch your cravings. That would be one to go for. Maple syrup is another one I'd recommend, but it's really important to go for the pure maple syrup rather than anything else. You can get all sorts of types in the shop, so if you go for really pure maple syrup, then at least you're getting the antioxidants, and that will have less effect on your blood sugar as well. Coconut sugar is another one, the same. I think this is becoming available in some supermarkets, but again, health food shops, more expensive. Again, less effects on your blood sugar levels. So a good one to go for baking and things, or adding a little bit of sugar where you need it here and there. The one I would stick in the middle, is honey. I know a lot of people say, well, I'm having porridge and I'm having some honey, but that's fine because it's, natural and everything else. And to some extent, unfortunately, it's not always as it seems. So the normal processed honey is processed at high temperatures. So you're losing all your the natural nutrients in there. And often honeys, you've got to watch, they're mixed with other things as well. So the normal processed honeys, I would say, not particularly helpful, still raising your blood sugar, not going to help you as much. But raw honey is a better option because it hasn't had that process of heating. You've got your nutrients in there. It's going to be a more pure product that you're getting. So adding a little bit of that maybe into your porridge, again, better than the normal honey. Downside of that is obviously pricey, but you can get that more nowadays in supermarkets. So it's really kind of a bit of a balance going on. The two that have cropped up a lot these days in kind of healthy food recipes and things like that are agave. Now the problem, there's agave and there's rice syrup. Now I have a problem with these in that agave is it's mainly fructose, so it's similar to high fructose corn syrup in terms of its structure, and it is processed in the liver, so it's not helpful to us at all. And rice syrup, again, very highly processed product, not really giving us any added benefits. So again, those would be two I would avoid for those kind of things. There's another couple of sort of natural alternatives to sugar. You might have heard of stevia. I would say again, go for your pure full green leaf stevia, not one that's been mixed. You can get some now, I think, in the supermarkets that are mixed with other things, so you've got to watch the mix with artificial sweeteners. But that can be okay for blood sugar. You know, if you're having it in small amounts, that's possibly an option. And then there's xylitol, spelt with an X, and that is best if you go for organic and non-GM xylitol. Again, it's okay for blood sugar, so that's a good one to have, but just a warning, toxic for pets, particularly dogs, I believe it's toxic for. Now, the good thing is, you know, it's balanced, it helps you with your blood sugar, it won't spike your blood sugar, or certainly less so. But the thing to watch out for as well with xylitol, it does have a laxative effect with some people if you have too much of it. So just a little warning, it's not absorbed in the gut, so it goes straight through your gut, and that's why it can have this bit of a laxative effect. So just a little warning on that one, but it can be quite useful if you're trying to gradually reduce sugar in your diet, to do it gradually. Some people find it easier to just kind of go cold turkey and think, right, getting it all out the house, I'm not having anything, I'm just going to go for it. And they might feel worse for a few days, but then they will feel the benefits. For other people, it's not so easy. They might want to gradually switch over to something like using tiny bits of some natural alternatives, but gradually decreasing it. The problem is with still using some kind of something to sweeten your food is you're still prolonging that sweetness that you need in your taste buds. The more you reduce it down, the more you get used to just the enjoyment of the flavour of food without having to have it so sweet. So, you know, it's worth thinking about all of these things. Now, drinks is another thing to watch out for. Now, I personally am glad the sugar tax came in. Don't want to get political, but I think it's raised awareness, if anything else. Some of the drinks companies have reduced sugar in the food, sugar in their drinks, which is good. Not enough though. There's still a lot of sugar in things like Coke, Lucozade, Ribena. So you really can be drinking all your calories in sugar and not getting much out of it. And again, thinking about switching to Diet Cokes, bear in mind what I said about artificial sweeteners, because it probably won't help you. Also look out for things like flavoured waters, which either contain sugar or artificial sweeteners as well. Always just best to stick with water, or make yourself your own kind of infusion of, with fresh ginger, mint, fruit in the fridge, and if you make something like that, keep it in a contained glass bottle. It's far better to hydrate yourself with that, and then you're not getting that extra sugar intake. So really, I mean, the World Health Organization really recommend no more than around 6 teaspoons a day of sugar. And a lot of people, when I tell them that, because they often do corporate talks, and sugar's one of the topics that we talk about, and talk to other people about it, and they go, I can see them go, well, that's okay. I have a cup of coffee and I might have 1 sugar in it a day. And they haven't taken into account all these extra places that unfortunately it's kind of finding its way into our diets. So do bear that in mind. But what else can help us by kind of cutting out sugar? How do we get there? How do we do it? So one of the things, and again, this is a topic when I talk about blood sugar balancing, this is a whole kind of seminar I do with people. So, but just very briefly, and you can find more about it in my group. But basically, you need to make sure that you're having good quality protein, you're having plenty of fibre, and you're having healthy fats with every meal and snack. If you have that, you're helping to balance your blood sugar, and therefore you're less likely to crave the sugar, and you'll get out of that vicious cycle that it gets us in. So there's one thing, very briefly mentioned. I could spend hours talking to you about that, and I do when I have my individual clients. We on one-to-one clients, we talk a lot about that, because often that's really important for all sorts of things. I'm not just talking about weight, I'm talking about involved with brain health and how we're feeling and everything else, and it's all tied in. So that's a big topic, but just the basics. Think about those things in your meals, where you're getting your fibre from, lots of veggies, some fruit, some whole grains, where you're getting your protein from, and making sure you're having the healthy fats. So, your things like your nuts, your seeds, oily fish, and avocados, and olive oil, things like that. The other really important thing I would recommend, and I can't recommend it enough, is planning and prepping your food. So doing a meal plan and really making sure that you've got the stuff in. So you've got snacks with you when you're in situations, when you're in the office and people are offering you bars of chocolate and stuff going around the office. When you're on the run and you're starving and you're stressed, have a healthy snack with you. When you are, when you get home from work, you know what you're going to make, or you've got something pre-prepped, so that you're not just thinking, oh my God, I'm starving and I have no idea what I'm going to have, and you just go for the chocolate or the sweets or some sweet food. If you've got the plan in place, then it can just really help you get off the sugar. I can't tell you how much, this is something else I work with my clients. I've also got some more information about this in my group that you can search for. So the other thing I was going to say is, if you want to give it a go, I am doing a free 7-day sugar-free challenge. It started today, and it's in my Facebook group, Fuss Free Healthy Eating. You can find information about that if you go to my page, and it's Marcelle Rose Nutrition, but I will hopefully be able to put the link in for my Facebook page, and you'll be able to get to the group from there. The good thing about doing it in this way to start off with is you have the support and the motivation, accountability. You'll be doing it's a bit fun because you're doing it with other people. I've got hundreds of people joining in literally this week with me doing it. I'm doing it too. So it'd be really great. So if anyone has any questions, very happy to answer them. Likewise, if you're watching a recording of this, you can still join in with the sugar challenge. You can still pick up all the info in the group, so do take a look. And you can also, feel free to ask me questions later on as well. So I'll just give it and see if anyone has any questions. I don't know if anyone has at the moment. But you can always send me a question later on, and I will get back to you. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening.